Summer routines live or die by how easy they are, and honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Groones is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Groones.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
Welcome back to the Jon Krawczynski Show. Yes, we do shows all off-season. If you're new to the show, in fact, sometimes most fun shows are in the off-season because we can speculate. We have lots of time. We're not just talking about game results. The Jon Krawczynski Show is coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studio and is presented to you by Lexus of Wayzata in Maplewood. Thanks to all of our sponsors, everyone who makes the show possible, and John for doing all the work. We do appreciate it. Make sure you watch us on YouTube and follow the Jon Krawczynski Show on Instagram and Facebook so you'll see each episode as it is released. Check out the other great shows at TalkNorth.com, including Chin Music with Roy Smalley, Lavelle E. Neal, and myself, Don Mitchell Show, Mark Rosen's Show, Russo and LaPanta on hockey, Kevin Gorg on hockey, at Jeff Diamond on football, Alec Lewis on the Vikings, et cetera, et cetera. All right, let's start with Karl-Anthony Towns going to the finals, and going to the finals very easily and with incredibly efficient play. Should we look back at that trade with serious questions?
You know, I think that's probably the reflex reaction from a lot of Timberwolves fans right now is, and I've seen it in my social media mentions about, we never should trade a cat, never should have done, this was terrible. And I can guarantee you 2 things. First and foremost is a lot of the people, and I called out 1 or 2 of them already, who are in my mentions saying we never should have traded Cat. We're so happy when they traded Cat right after the Dallas series, and they were putting all of the blame on him and just ready to be done with 9 years of Karl-Anthony Towns. And so I don't think that's the overwhelming sentiment among Timberwolves fans, but there certainly was a healthy contingent of Timberwolves followers out there who were ready to see something else. But looking at the trade in particular, first of all, they did not trade Karl-Anthony Towns for Julius Randle straight up. It was Karl-Anthony Towns for Julius Randle, Donte DiVincenzo, and Johan Berenger. And because Donte was hurt in the first round and Johan has not yet played, it is very easy to just say it was just Cat for Randle, and that was a disaster. But the Wolves were making a deal that had to be done because the financial landscape of the league changed right after they made the trade for Rudy Gobert. They brought in another big salary in Gobert, and then literally, within several months after that, there was a whole new collective bargaining agreement, a whole new set of financial parameters that really changed the way that teams operate. And I think that the Timberwolves were penalized quicker than most teams, but other teams are going to go through and have gone through the same problems and the same choices that the Wolves are going through. And so in the moment, they had to make a financial decision so that they could operate with some sort of freedom to build a team around Anthony Edwards. And they ended up getting a player that helped them get to the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago, did not play well this year. Donte DiVincenzo was invaluable for this team this year and probably would have helped make that series against San Antonio much more competitive if he was out there, and he just was not available. And then there's people that are really high on Johan Berenger, and so I think he can absolutely turn into a starting player in this league. And so the trade itself right now, with Karl-Anthony Towns playing such a big role in what the Knicks are doing and going to the finals, like, he's getting all the flowers that he deserves. But it can't, you have to factor in all of the context when you look at why the Timberwolves made that trade. And so when you factor all of that in, I still understand why they did it. It has not worked out exactly like they wanted, but they were a Western Conference Finals team last year and a second round team this year. So they haven't bottomed out. But certainly when you see the guy that you traded now playing a pivotal role on a team that could win the championship this year, that's gonna sting a little bit. But looking back on that trade, I still understand it, and I still see why they did it, and I still think that it can be beneficial for them in the long term.
Two thoughts based on what you just said. Number one, what a gift to only have to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers to get to the NBA Finals. What a freaking gift. It was like varsity versus JV. And the Knicks are really good, and they played really well, and Towns was incredibly efficient, had a great game 4. So I'm not dismissing the Knicks. I'm just saying, my God, that was not a conference finals team they played against. The other thought is, I think you're absolutely right. They were going to have to trade one of their big guns for financial reasons. Karl was the logical person to go, you're not going to trade Anthony Edwards. Gobert has been the key to their defense transformation all along. The question is, was there a better option out there?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I can't conceptualize one right now, Jim. And certainly I was way deep in the weeds on that deal as it came about, and talking to people within the organization. And I did not see at the time, or I was not aware of another option that was really credible and doable for the Timberwolves in that moment. I don't think that there was a deal for Kevin Durant. I don't think there was a deal for Giannis at that time. So when this deal came about with the Knicks, the Wolves had quietly tried to gauge the market on the league and tried to see what all was out there. And I mean, one thing that you have to remember a little bit is that coming off of that Dallas series where Karl did not play well, his value was not sky high. It was still higher than Rudy Gobert, which is one of the reasons that they chose Cat over Gobert for a trade, is because Cat brought back more value. Secondly, they really did like Donte DiVincenzo especially, and getting that first round pick. But then also, I think there was hope that Randall could kind of give them playmaking, give them another secondary scorer, give them a shot creator, kind of all of those things. And he has, for the most part. I mean, he did not play well in the playoffs this season, but he has been a good player for them for 2 years. Dante's been a really good player for them for 2 years and valuable. And then they believe that Johan can be a very valuable piece going forward. So if you look at all of the pieces that they got in that deal, it certainly wasn't a situation where they, sold for pennies on the dollar, I don't think. And, what Cat has done with New York has been incredible. And he has played incredibly well and incredibly mature in these playoffs. Like, he's just been a really in control, under command player for the entire playoffs. And that's been fantastic. But when the deal went down, I did not have the impression that there were several other really viable options out there for them. I think that this was the best one, that the Knicks really wanted Cat, and that they eventually relented and included DiVincenzo in their offer, and that's what pushed it over the top. You're totally right about the Eastern Conference. I mean, the other part of the context that has to be kind of included here is that the Wolves got to the second round in the West. If they were in the East this year, would they be in the conference finals or the finals? I think there's an entirely real possibility that they would be. I think the Knicks are a little better than the Wolves, but just the geography plays a role in this whole thing as well. So this is not downplaying the Knicks. They're on a historic run. They have won 11 straight games by incredible margins. So They may be playing competition that isn't quite what it is in the West, but they are doing what they should do against that inferior competition, and they are just hammering them. And so they're playing the schedule in front of them and doing it. But you have to factor in just a little bit that they played Cleveland, they played Philadelphia, they played Atlanta in the 3 rounds to get to the finals. The Wolves played Denver and San Antonio, slightly different kind of weight class in terms of opponent. Again, the Knicks are the better team. They have had the better season. They deserve all of the flowers that they are getting, and Carl does as well. Personally, I just am incredibly happy for him. But yeah, like when you get into the woe is me stuff with in Wolves land, I think that people can go a little bit too far with some of that.
No, not Minnesota sports fans.
No, shocking.
Never
right?
woes me, never takes anything too far, never overreacts. Doesn't happen. Doesn't happen here or anywhere. I don't know what you're talking about. We have a full show today, but at some point in the offseason, we'll talk about the possibility of the Wolves moving to East, what it would take, whether they have any advantages in lobbying for that, whether it makes any sense for the league as well as the Wolves. For today, we're about to talk about Kyrie Irving, but first, we want to thank Aquarius Home Services.
When your furnace, air conditioner, or thermostat isn't working right, you need a local team you can trust. Whether your home won't heat up, won't cool down, or your air quality is a concern, your home comfort team at Aquarius Home Services finds the problem fast and fixes it right. And you get $98 off any furnace or AC repair when you book with Aquarius today. Aquarius Home Services. One call, problem solved. Earning the right to be recommended. Schedule today at AquariusHomeservices.com.
And here's Jon Krawczynski for Lexus, Wayzata, and Maplewood.
If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than our good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they've got you covered with 2 great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to LexusofWayzata.com or LexusofMaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
So you've written about it from a reporter's perspective. I've written about it from a columnist's perspective. Kyrie Irving to the Timberwolves. What are the chances, and what would it do for this team?
I think that when you look at some of the deals that conceptually could be available going into this summer, we talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo, you can talk about Kyrie, you can talk about a bunch of names that are going to be bandied about. I do think that Kyrie is a little more reasonable of an option than, say, Giannis is. And so when you're trying to put together Giannis packages, he just makes so much money. It would have to deplete so much of your depth on your team and on your roster that you just look at it and say, man, is this really feasible? Is this really a good idea? I do think that the Timberwolves will continue to explore that. I think that they will look at all sorts of different scenarios, including Giannis. But if I'm trying to look at an impactful move that could come at a price that feels like you wouldn't have to liquidate your entire roster, I think Kyrie Irving makes a lot of sense. He certainly has his issues that you worry about with his age, with his injury history, coming off of that ACL. He did not play at all last year, so where's he going to be at health-wise? But if you look at his ability to take pressure off of Anthony Edwards as a ball handler, to make shots, to create his own shots, to just give them another dynamic and reliable offensive engine so that Ant is not having to drive so much of it himself, I think that Kyrie Irving is a great option. I don't know exactly what you would have to give up to get him, but it would likely be, a Julius Randle or Rudy Gobert and maybe a little something else to make it all worthwhile for Dallas. But I don't think you'd have to, throw a ton at the Mavericks because Kyrie Irving is 34 years old and coming off a torn ACL. And so So his value is going to be limited just a little bit just because of the age and the injury history. The other thing that I really am intrigued about with Kyrie, Jim, is that, we've talked about it before a little bit, but Kyrie certainly at a certain stage of his career, I think in Boston and in Brooklyn, brought a lot of stray voltage, around him, from kind of the statements that he would make and some of the actions on the court and things of that nature. But I thought once he got to Dallas, it really seemed like he found a peace with, and he found comfort in who he is as a player, who he is as a person. And I really think that he was a major part of that Dallas Mavericks team that obviously beat the Wolves and went to the finals. I just think that it looked to me from a very big distance, watching him from afar, that he had really settled into who he is as a player. And so I think if you brought him into this locker room, he would really fit in. I think that he would be a good voice and a good leader and a good soldier, all of those things. And so a lot of the concerns that some people may have had about Kyrie earlier on in his career, I don't think are necessarily front and center anymore when you're evaluating a Kyrie Irving deal. And what this team needs a lot of is shot creation and ball handling. And Kyrie Irving is maybe the best ball handler in the history of the league, and he can create his own shot. And so I just think that if at the end of the day, the Wolves are not able to go get Giannis Antetokounmpo and they end up going with Kyrie Irving, I think that is a very intriguing option for them, kind of to really change the look of their roster going into next season. Because let's face it, Jim, they have to make I think a significant change to this roster if they want to go into next year with the idea of being, a returning to contender status in the West. I mean, it's clear that Oklahoma City and San Antonio are far ahead of the Wolves and where they are at. And so you need ball handling, shot making, and intelligence and basketball IQ. And Kyrie Irving has all three of those things in spades. So that would be a maneuver that, if it's done, it would generate some box office buzz for sure. But it also would show that, hey, this team recognizes that some critical things had to happen, and they're trying to make another pivot to see if they can kind of manufacture a new contender on the fly here.
Two thoughts. One is, not long ago, the Dallas Mavericks had Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson.
Yes.
Wow.
Unbelievable, right? Like an all-time fumble. Like, because not only, we can talk about the Luka trade, which was, I think, the worst trade in NBA history and maybe in all of professional sports history for the return that you got for him. But they got nothing for Jalen Brunson, Jim. They let him go in free agency. There was no compensation. There was no, they did not sign him to an extension during the season to then trade him and get some value for him. They got absolutely nothing for Jalen Brunson. And so when you put the two things together, I mean, I just don't know that you would find a bigger fumble in the history of the league than letting two top 7-8 players in the league leave and getting almost nothing in return for them. It should be studied in, sports management classes of like what not to do and how not to handle it. I mean, it's remarkable. And then of course they get lucky and get Cooper Flag. So I don't know what they did to deserve that, but that's it.
It was the plan.
Yeah, that must be it.
I'm running up credit card debt because I know I'm going to win the lottery. It's just the way we do it as Americans. Two more thoughts, actually. The first is that, in a way, Kyrie Irving is the reason the Wolves wanted Julius Randle, is they watched Dallas during that series against the Wolves and said, oh man, what a gift. They always have at least one person who can run an offense, get his own shot, create shots for other people. They always have one on the floor, and often they have two on the floor, and they wanted somebody like that. And, Julius Randle at his best does that in his own different way. The other thought is that the reason I like the Kyrie deal proposal more than the idea of going after Giannis is you can get Kyrie without giving up Jaden and Naz and, two other players. I mean, you might get Kyrie for a reasonable outlay.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%, Jim. It just he is much more attainable, and like the thing that you do worry about when you're trying to make a significant move is what do you have left in the cupboard once you bring in star player X. And I think that even though I would say that I think that Giannis's market is going to be a little softer than maybe some people expect, unless Oklahoma City loses to San Antonio and then just decides, all right, we're going all in. Maybe that would be a shift in the market that would really sort of drive the price up. But right now, when you look at the Giannis market, I think the Bucks are in a tough spot because everyone knows that they have to move Giannis. Like this whole sort of charade of being able to say, no, Giannis wants to stay here. We're going to make this work. It worked, last year. It worked the previous year. And so they were trying to drive up the price by doing it that way. And you could look at that and say, it's kind of genuine. Why would you want to trade the best player in franchise history for right now? But now everyone knows it's got to happen. And so when that is the case, and when Giannis is coming off of an injury-plagued season, a savvy team will push back on the Bucks a little bit and will depress the market just slightly. He's still Giannis. He still makes a ton of money. So it's going to require a lot, but it might not require the just incredible outlay that it would have at the February trade deadline or even before that. So that said, it's still going to require a heck of a lot more than Kyrie Irving, no doubt. And so there's a real chance that the Wolves would have to just give up almost everything to get him and say, you know what, we're going to roll the dice with Ant and Giannis, and then we're going to also bank on maybe some, free agents wanting to come to Minnesota and play with these two on cheaper deals, and that's how we're going to fill out the roster. It's precarious, it's risky, but that's a way that they could go. With Kyrie, yes, they're going to have to give up a little bit, a good player and probably a pick of some sort, but that's a lot more doable. And so conceivably you could have a starting lineup next year of Kyrie, Ant, Jaden, Naz, Rudy. That's pretty darn good. Like that's a really good starting lineup. You bring Io back, you play Berenger more, Shannon. Then you have a team that you go in and say, hey, this might be something. At least it'll be significantly different than what it was. And so, I think that's the intrigue about Kyrie Irving as much as what he would bring as a player. And to your point on Julius Randle, Jim, I'll keep pointing back to it. He was the best player in the playoffs in the first two rounds last year. And he did give them quite a bit. He was incredible in October, November this year, this season. And yes, he didn't give exactly what you wanted. And there's no question that the San Antonio series in particular, it was awful for him. And that's a terrible way. If this were the last impressions in a Timberwolves uniform, it would be unfortunate because he really did he wasn't a complete bust for them. He played really well at times, really delivered a couple of playoff series wins for them. And so in the end, I think he's had a successful run here in Minnesota. It's just juxtaposed against what Cat is doing right now in New York. And Cat was always the best player in that trade. Like that was, if you're just going to evaluate on that, it was going to be a lose, no problem, because Cat is the best player by a margin in that package. But Julius, has done some really good things here, and everyone's mad at him, and I get it, but we kind of have to look at the bigger picture with him as well.
All right. One more segment to go. I want to talk about Io. I want to talk about the finals. But right now, let us thank TSR Injury Law, the OGs sponsoring this podcast. They helped us get off the ground. They helped my entire network get off the ground. We will always appreciate it. What you need to know about them is if you are injured, you call 612-TSR-TIME. 612-TSR-TIME. They will take good care of you. That's why they are such a success story, because they take care of people. 612-TSR-TIME. Now here's John for True Vision Institute.
True Vision Institute in Bloomington. Go to truevision.com and set up your free consultation. Go in there and just receive world-class care from start to finish. They will educate you on all of your vision correction options, and they will help you pick the right one for you. There's zero pressure. It's just making sure that you are comfortable with what works for you. I had LASIK surgery at True Vision going on 2 years now. I still see great. If you're watching this on YouTube, you see I have no glasses. I have not worn glasses for 2 years. It's just made my life so much easier. I don't have to worry about going back in for contacts every 6 months or a year. There's just none of the hassles thanks to LASIK surgery at True Vision. So go to truevision.com, set up your consultation, tell them the Jon Krawczynski Show sent you, get in there and just start to go down the process that ends with you kicking yourself in the butt for not doing this 10 years earlier, just like I did. True Vision in Bloomington, truevision.com.
We'll answer a Twitter question sponsored by sglambchops.com. By we, I mean John. sglambchops.com. What's going on with our friends now?
If you go to sglambchops.com, put in the promo code JONK20, you get 20% off everything that you get at Lamb Chops, and everything that they have there is high quality, super fashionable, stylish, comfortable, casual wear. So whether you want hoodies, you want sweatshirts, you want t-shirts, you want shorts, you want hats, you want pants, they have even sweaters you can wear to work. Whatever you want, they have you covered at Lamb Chops. You go there, you can wear it out in the North Loop on a Friday night and fit right in. You can wear it lounging around the house while you're watching games, while you're watching Cat, going into the NBA Finals, and it's just, it works any way that you want. So go to sglambchops.com, put in the promo code JONK20 for 20% off anything you get at Lamb Chops.
And I'm wearing my Lamb Chops t-shirt and sweats right now. And one thing I'll say about it is they're really sturdy. I tend to be hard on clothes. These things, this is going to last forever. Io, what are the chances they keep them? And what are the chances they keep them even if they trade for Kyrie Irving?
Yeah, I think that both scenarios are very much on the table. I think that Tim Connolly said at the end, at his season-ending press conference, that Io is their top priority in free agency. When he says those things, Jim, it's usually very targeted, and it's not, kind of gamesmanship or anything like that. He wants to get something done. And when Tim Connolly wants to get something done, it usually happens. So I would be surprised, Jim, if when all the dust settles on this season, on this summer, that Io DeSumo is not back here on a long-term deal, 3-4 years, something like that. He made a very good impression when he was here, both in the locker room and on the court. The injuries at the end in the playoffs did kind of mute things just a little bit, but that actually might not be the worst thing for the Timberwolves in terms of just negotiating a new deal with him. But all of the parties involved expect that Io will get a very strong offer from the Timberwolves, and then it'll be up to him to decide, because I do think he will have other suitors on the market. I think there will be other teams that will try to get into the Io DeSumo game. But Tim Connolly wants to get something done here, and so I do think that there's a real good chance that he is back here. Whether he is back as a sixth man or as the starter next to Ant Edwards, I think both of those scenarios are in play.
I went into the finals just thinking this is going to be great basketball. Can't wait to watch it. I guess I liked the Spurs a little more. I like Oklahoma City, or I liked just because they're kind of fresh, upcoming. I love the way they play. And now, 4 games in, we're recording this on Tuesday morning. I want the Spurs to destroy Oklahoma City. I want Oklahoma City to be embarrassed. I want Oklahoma City to their way they play to spark a rules change, or at least an emphasis change in the offseason, where every time you flop, it's technical flat foul. And then if Shea flops and flops and flops, then he's thrown out of games, he's suspended. This has got to stop. And I like San Antonio and the way they play even more than I thought I did. I love the ball movement, the unselfishness, the athletic ability, the aggressiveness. It's so, as even as a professional journalist who doesn't get too emotionally involved in all this stuff, I just want San Antonio to destroy them.
I don't think you're alone, Jim. I mean, it does seem like Oklahoma City has become a bit of the villain in this NBA landscape now. A lot of the theatrics that they do employ or deploy have turned some fans off. I think there's other people around the league that get frustrated with it as well. I think some of it is magnified because they are the defending champions and there is more scrutiny on them, but they certainly do push the envelope as much as any team in the league with a lot of that stuff. Not only, the flopping and the embellishment on the offensive end, but also sort of the physicality on the defensive end on the perimeter. They really push that as well. And so there's definitely some frustrations among fans and people around the league. I do expect, Jim, that this summer the league will look at kind of renewing flopping as a point of emphasis for the officials. Remember, there was a time not too long ago where fines would be issued for flopping, where there was a lot more attention paid to it. And for whatever reason, the league kind of gravitated away from that a little bit. And it has become such a talking point on social media, and the league is very influenced by what is being discussed on social media. And so I don't know if there will be new rules put in place to target flopping, but I do think that there will be discussions within the league, within the referees, that, hey, a point of emphasis going into next season is to watch this more closely, to police this, to try and remove it from the game as much as possible. There's always going to be players trying to take advantage and trying to trick referees and stuff because it is so beneficial to a team if you can pull it off, if you can get rewarded with free throws and other things like that. That will always be something that players will try. But I do believe, to your point, Jim, if there's technical fouls, if there are fines, if there are other things that are really levied against players, that will start to go away. Like, they will react to it and not want to kind of cut money out of their checks or have technical fouls or all of those things. That it will be eliminated if the league decides to say, we are going to punish players who do this. And they, for whatever reason, and I do not know why, they have gotten away from that over the last 3-4 years. And now it's SGA, it's Chet Holmgren, it's Isaiah Hartenstein, it's Lou Dort, Isaiah Joe's done it, but also you can expand it out. Jalen Brunson does it, Luka Doncic does it, Joel Embiid does it. Like, there's just a lot of players who try to game the system, and it's a very aesthetically unpleasing part of the game, and it does make fans really not like it. And so, if the league is trying to make this game more marketable to fans, reducing those kinds of theatrics, I think, should be near the top of the list. And I would anticipate that we do see some chatter about that this summer at the owners' meetings in Vegas in July.
Vegas in July. It's perfect timing.
That's right.
I do not care about fines. These players, the players make too much money. It's got to be technical fouls. It's got to hurt the team immediately. It's got to be something that leads to suspensions, that is embarrassing. I mean, Shea, and drawing fouls has always been part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between trying to draw a foul and taking a jump shot and falling down when nobody touches you. Those are two completely different things.
Yeah, and I think Tom Haberstroh at Yahoo did a great little study on the playoffs, and it was interesting because I think he went into the study with the idea that, hey, this kind of criticism of Shea is really overblown. Like, it's really not as big a deal as people think. And the data that he's provided and that he tabulated is that Shea does fall to the ground far more than any other kind of primary scorer in the playoffs. And I think that it's especially sensitive in Wolves land because the Wolves don't flop. And that is one of the most admirable parts of Anthony Edwards' game. He has some things that he has to work on. He has some things that you want to see improve going into next season. But one thing that I am incredibly happy that he has never done is kind of given into that dark side of it and just be like, just flopping when he goes to the basket, because he drives a lot. He does not get a good whistle because he does not embellish. And so Julius Randle doesn't embellish, Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, none of them are floppers. And I think, there's nobility in that. But I just hope that it doesn't get to the point where they feel compelled to fight fire with fire. And that is what I think a lot of players would say if you were to give them truth serum on why you do this. It's because it works. And so I'm trying to get any little edge that I can. And God bless Ant and Julius and Jaden and Rudy and all these guys on the Wolves who do not do that. But hopefully the league does do something this offseason to deter this from happening, because it's getting to be a little too much, and it just elicits such a strong reaction that it does take away from the game.
No doubt about it. All right. We're going to do our Twitter question, sponsored by sglambchops.com. Also, if you know of a local business that would like to reach John's very large, very passionate audience, you can reach our Vice President of Business Development at talknorth.com. That's Tammy Henderson, Henderson at talknorth.com. John, what's our Twitter question of the week?
This one comes from Colin Jarvis. Can Donte DiVincenzo be traded this summer with the team wanting the salary as a filler with his bird rights next summer? Yes, Donte DiVincenzo can be traded. This would be a very delicate thing, though. I would say to Timberwolves people is that he did everything possible for this team last year, played all 82 games, was a very, very valuable portion of this roster, suffers a devastating injury, and now is going to be rehabbing for most of next season. It is just taking away the emotion, taking away how bad it is for Donte DiVincenzo, which it is terrible, and that is first and foremost. It's also really tough for the Timberwolves because he makes like $12.5 million next year, and you're getting no production for that money that sits on your salary cap. So you could say that, yeah, you could try to trade Donte DiVincenzo, as part of a bigger package for a Giannis, for someone else, and just kind of then, you're off of that kind of underwater salary right now. But when you saw, in game 6 against Denver, in the first round, when every player on the Wolves roster wore a DiVincenzo jersey to the arena, like, what he means to this team. And so there is a bit of morality that comes into play with a decision like this. And I don't think that the Timberwolves want to trade Donte DiVincenzo. I think they want to keep him around. They want to help him rehab. They want to get him back fully going. And then maybe by towards the end of next season, he's back on the court with the Timberwolves. But if a big opportunity comes forward to really upgrade the roster and you have to include DiVincenzo, I mean, they at least have to think about that. That said, like these guys, Tim Connolly, Chris Finch, like they do look at the human side of things a lot with these deals. And I do think that there would be an impression that if you traded him, man, that's a cold world, like what you did. And this can be a cold league, and so you may have to do it, but I think that if the Wolves could avoid doing that, they probably will.
Good stuff, John. As always, looking forward to talking more about the finals next week. Check out the show on YouTube. Check it out at talknorth.com or on your favorite podcast app, as well as the other great shows at talknorth.com. We appreciate you listening and watching, and we will talk to you next week.